his dad died. David's a little bit older. He was 23 when Bill died. So he did get a little bit more of the history, especially, and Alex, and this is sort of heartbreaking actually, because Alex was little, and he said, gosh, my dad and I had kind of a rough relationship. We were always, very tight-knit people, always outgoing. And it wasn't until like the very end of his life that they were starting to develop this close bond, and we were starting to open up and talk about his childhood, and that was when he died. So early on, he didn't talk much, but Esther certainly did let me know where they came from. They told Bill and David and Alex things that Bill didn't remember. Like, for instance, he took violin lessons until he was, from the time he was 4 years old until he was 8 years old. So people asked, did he have any kind of musical talent? And the answer was not really, but except for organizing concerts. But apparently he did play the violin pretty well when he was young, and he played the cowbell later on. Yeah. But other than that, he didn't have quite the singing voice, musical talent. He just recognized talent.
Are any of his sisters still alive?
No. His sister Esther died just about 2 years ago, exactly, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. His niece Faye, so Rita's daughter Faye, and her family are still very much around and close. But other than that, no.
Did the boys ever actually live with him? Because their mothers were...
They did, yes. So Bill and Bonnie were divorced in 1972 or 73, and up until then, David lived, with both of them. So he was probably, 4 or 5 years old or something like that. And then after that period, David lived with his mother in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and then during the summers he lived with Bill. Same thing with Alex. Actually, Alex never lived with his parents. His parents never married. So Alex lived in Hawaii with his mother, and then summers with Bill. So David and Alex were together every summer with their dad.
Are both mothers still alive?
They are, yeah. Bonnie is in Philadelphia still, or just outside, and Marcia is Alex's mom, and she moved from Hawaii to LA, so she's close by. And by the way, Bonnie Graham, is a wonderful, wonderful artist. Now she does mostly painting, but at the time she was a poster artist, and some of her original artwork for Fillmore posters are over there. They are one of a kind. They've never been exhibited before, and I think that they're so much better than the printed version. They're really, really spectacular. Bill, you'll hear about the posters, but the psychedelic art movement is a phenomenon in itself, and the Fillmore concert posters were a big part of that art movement. And Bonnie has a significant place in that history. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm really glad that you're going to take this over. Bye.
Tour guides, we were talking on Monday at least, the story that Bonnie and Danny told us about the Russian poet performing with Jefferson Airplane. This is the poster for that performance. We were asking about where that was, so we found it here with Ferlinghetti,
Woznezhensky.
Yes.
Woznezhensky.
Woznezhensky and Lawrence Ferlinghetti and Jefferson Airplane. What a combination. Okay.
So, people may know I started out, my entree to the arts was as a poet, and so I heard Woznezhensky's read, and he was, kind of thought of as the equivalent to one of the beat poets, but the aesthetic was very different. The Russian poetic tradition is ancient and major. To this day, Russian poets are really beloved, but the aesthetic is like 180 degrees, very
melodramatic
and loud, and what runs like that.
There's some audios that came on.
I'm sure, yeah, if you go online, you can hear Vosnesenski reading. Yeah, and the other, there was another Russian poet who was actually more famous, whose name just flew out of my head, but yeah. So highlights. This is the original 5 rock bands from the movement: Grateful Dead, Big Brother, Jefferson Airplane, the Charlatans, all together. And the funny story to tell people, or the interesting, is this is a picture of the managers, the 5 managers of the 5 bands. And, you know, it was rough and ready kind of time. And so in the picture, they each have their hands in somebody else's pocket. So they were willing to laugh at themselves. And then the other amazing thing is Donovan, who started out as a folk singer, quickly went into rock and roll, where the money was, and was really the epitome of the peace and love, really kind of laughable now. But this is a note to Bill Graham, thanking him for being such a groovy dude. So, as you tour, keep moving to your right. This is the 60s, the peachy orange color is the 60s. And we get into the posters. And I had back and forth with folks about this because there were a lot of posters in the show in LA. And it was certainly a major part of the culture, but I felt there was a little bit of coals to Newcastle, that there have been many exhibitions of the posters in the city, and we had so little room, so I lost a lot of the posters. But what I did keep are these, well, first of all, these are the artists who did the, invented the whole psychedelic poster style. And a lot of these guys are still alive, and they all got quite a bit of acclaim. The names are Rick Griffin, Wes Wilson, Stanley Mouse, Victor Moscoso, and Alton Kelly. Victor Moscoso particularly is, and as you probably all know, that the original posters are incredibly valuable. Many thousands of dollars for the rare ones.
Gosh, I have a whole bunch of them, but mine have staples and everything in them. They're not pristine condition because they wallpapered my bathroom.
That's a good story.
So what you might want to notice and point out is that these are the original drawings, and these are the finished posters, top and bottom. So you can really see.
And so for educators, this would be a really good place to tour, since the art project is going to be based on the poster design, is comparing the before and afters and the process.
There's a great photo here of Bonnie holding baby David and Bill pasting one of the posters.
Silk screen. It's like silk screen.
It says
No, and
pasting
it's
proofs,
pasting it in
but
its scrapbook.
oh, in its scrapbook. Oh, there it is.
All right, another, we don't want people to go back and forth, but if you, this is kind of interesting. So this is an advertisement in the psychedelic style for Monday, September 5th, Martha and the Vandellas. This is
Love that.
the same concert, but this was distributed in the African American neighborhood.
Wow.
Great.
Wow.
And this was, Bonnie told me today that this was probably produced by that African-American promoter that was
Sullivan.
Charles Sullivan, who was subleasing to Bill, and this was for his audience, and this was for Bill's. The other great story is this is B.B. King, who just died in the last month, and the greatest blues guitarist ever, and incredibly charismatic performer. And he had been performing, he was already a middle-aged man, who was successful within the Chitlin circuit, within African American concerts. Bill Graham invited him to perform at the Fillmores. The first time in his life, he performed for a white audience. And I got an email from an African American artist friend who told me the story. It's on the label also, but Bill Graham introduced him as the chairman of the board. And he started crying. And throughout his performance, he was crying. And he became like incredibly internationally famous and a wealthy man because of Bill Graham. He always supported the African American progenitors of rock and roll. So continuing on this wall, highlight for me is Janis Joplin.
Sorry, I'm trying to get here.
I saw Janis Joplin perform at the Newport Festival in Rhode Island when I was about 21. Changed my life.
Is she wearing this?
I don't remember what she was wearing. I think she was wearing a skirt. But you can see sexual and
For the folks at home.
very much thrift store chic, right? She really came from the streets, even though she was, she was a girl from Port Arthur, Texas, who ran away to be a hippie in San Francisco. Didn't even know she was a singer. Lived a tough life. She was famous for drinking Southern Comfort, which is bourbon and honey.
Is that Arthur Penn? Is that who did that Penn photograph?
Jim Marshall, it says.
Jim Marshall.
This is the most famous picture of her that really captured her vulnerability. So the show has, I think, 11 of these. These are not video, they're audio stations. People can, like we have the Yud, listen to whatever songs they want to hear. And it's by the band. So this is Big Brother and the Holding Company, which was her band. And this is a great picture of, like a picture of the 5 founding bands. This is the Grateful Dead and Big Brother and the Holding Company. I always like the name Big Brother and the Holding Company because it has that political edge. These people were not stupid. They knew, they had a critique. They were critical of the establishment. And it goes into the Grateful Dead. We always think of Jerry Garcia with salt and pepper hair, but Jerry's the kid. Jefferson Airplane, Aretha Franklin, Santana, who was really a protege of Bill Graham. He used to hang around and ask for gigs, and eventually Bill became to be his manager. So he was the one who performed that. That's Bill Cowbell.
Bill's Cowboy. Well, oh, there.
I've heard contradictory things about whether the cowbell was the height of his musical talent or whether he really plays violin. This is a documentary that's kind of amazing about closing of the Fillmore West, and you really get a sense of his dynamic personality. He was tough. But I was talking to Bonnie Simmons about it, and she said, "Oh, that's all made up. That's all actors." But it's portrayed as a documentary. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I put it on.
That's
It
not
is
Bill.
him, but
I put it on Live Finders. The entire movie is available on YouTube, so you can watch it. It's in really good quality, and it I was actually wondering that myself because it,
How long is it? How
No, it's him, but it's the-
staged.
Actor's stage.
How staged it is.
Yeah.
So, but it's awesome. Watch it. It's an hour and 40 minutes.
But Cara put a link in your
It's in
live
Live
binder.
Binders.